যে অনিলো প্রেমধানা করুণা প্রচুর যে অনিলো প্রেমধানা করুণা প্রচুর হেন প্রভু কোথা গেলা আচার্য ঠাকুর হেন প্রভু কোথা গেলা আচার্য ঠাকুর কাহা মোরা স্বরূপ রূপ কাহা সনাতন কাহা মোরা স্বরূপ রূপ কাহা সনাতন কাহা দাস রঘু নাথ পতিত পাবন কাহা দাস রঘু নাথ পতিত পাবন কাহা মোরা ভট্ট যুগ কাহা কবিরাজ কাহা মোরা ভট্ট যুগ কাহা কবিরাজ এক কালে কোথা গেলা গৌরা নটরাজ এক কালে কোথা গেলা গৌরা নটরাজ পাষাণে কুটি ও মাথা অনলে পশিব પાષાણે કુટીવો માથા અનલે પશિવો গৌরাঙ্গ গুণের নিধি কোথা গেলে পাব গৌরাঙ্গ গুণের নিধি কোথা গেলে পাব সেসব সঙ্গীরা সঙ্গে যে কইল বিলাস সেসব সঙ্গীরা সঙ্গে যে কইল বিলাস সে সঙ্গ না পাইয়া কান্দে নরোত্তম দাস সে সঙ্গ না পায়া কান্দে নরোত্তম দাস জয়ানিলো প্রেম ধানাম করুণা প্রচুর হেন প্রভু কোথা গেলা আচার্য ঠাকুর হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে 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 রাম 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 হরে হরে Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. He who brought the treasure of divine love, and who was filled with compassion and mercy, where has such a personality as Srinivas Acharya gone? Where are my Swarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatana? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishna Das Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against a rock and enter into fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all these devotees in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps.
Hare Krishna. As we said earlier, today is the disappearance day of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura, Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, and our grandfather and your great-grandfather. And Srila Prabhupada, it is the tradition that the disappearance day... Oh, yeah, all right. Thank you. Hare Krishna. It's considered, although like Krishna's fuller and fullest, so the appearance day, of the two, appearance day and disappearance day, both are auspicious, but it's considered that the disappearance day is a little more special because the pastimes have been manifested. It's the end of the life. You know what they're going to do, what they've done. And Srila Prabhupada was asked once, many times actually, about his spiritual master. And Prabhupada said one time, what can I say? He was a Vaikuntha man. Before I forget, he was known as Nrsinga Guru because all compassion and mercy and love are not just shanti shanti and everything's fine. Prabhupada said, if there's a thief in the house, you have to call thief, thief. What kind of person are you? Oh, it's all... You let the thief come in and walk off with all your family's silverware, then you're not a very good son. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura, he was known as Nrsinga Guru, and he was known for his axe preaching. He was very heavy. But that wasn't all that he was. He would sometimes, when he would see a bogus so-called guru, he would cross the street and chastise them. So much so that people would see him coming, some bogus this or that, and they would avoid him. He said, why are you cheating the people? At the same time, he would go around the ashram at night, sometimes, and when the brahmacharis were all asleep in the ashram, and make sure their mosquito nets were around them, make sure their blankets were keeping them warm. He used to keep sugar candy, lozenges in his pocket. And when he would go on his morning walk, he would give them to the local children. They would come and, And he was so much appreciated by the local people when they went to get the land for the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It was actually owned by Muslim farmers. And you can imagine for a Muslim farmer to sell a land for ostensibly a Hindu mandir, they're not so inclined. But he was so well respected, and the local people were so fond of him in Mayapur that the Muslim farmers donated the land on which the Chaitanya Mata, the Yog Pit, is built. So just to give you a flavor, it's not just that he was just heavy and axe preaching and the Shringa Guru, but he was, as Prabhupada said, a Vaikuntha man. So I wanted to pass out some pictures first, just to set the mood. I didn't have time to put them in a slideshow, nor that I want to take up all your time for just a few slides. But you can pass these around just to set the mood, make sure that it also makes it to our Vaishnavi here. So these are the first deities installed in the Gaudiya Math, installed by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura. If you go to his house there, the Yog Pit in Mayapur, you'll see them. And their name is Gandharvika Giridhari. This is the name he gave them, which means Radharani, the best of singers, the heavenly singer, and Giridhari. You've heard the name before. So here's Gandharvika Giridhari. This is a picture of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura on the day that he took sannyas. He took sannyas at 24 years old, which according to Ayurveda, the body is at its peak of enjoyment. Anybody over 24, it's all downhill from here. So, and Prabhupada said he took sannyas at 24 as a kick on the face of Maya. It's also the same age that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas. And if you just look at it, all he has on are two pairs of cloth, two pieces of cloth, roughly dyed. And yet, he is so powerful. So, clothes don't always make the man, but the man makes the clothes. He's right in the middle here. This is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura in 1924 at Ultadanga. They're out in front of the building and they're surrounded with this is the first temple they opened in Calcutta. And it was not in a fancy neighborhood, it was not a big building, but it's like Prabhupada on 26th 2nd Avenue. It's kind of the same thing. This is where it all rolled from in Calcutta. So we can, thank you, Prabhu. Yes, we'll get to that in a moment. But it's a good point. It's now after a huge hassle and negotiation, it's taken years and years, over a decade, that's now been purchased. It was purchased by ISKCON devotees. It's completely renovated. It's beautiful. It's Radhanath Maharaj and the Calcutta devotees. This is Bug Bazaar. This is a picture of the big marble temple, the first big temple that was... and Srila Prabhupada tells the story how Prabhupada was at a lecture listening to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura. Prabhupada said that when he was presented for initiation from the Allahabad Gaudiya Math, I think it was, Prayag Gaudiya Math, that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, yes, I know him. I have marked him. He likes to hear. But Prabhupada liked to listen. And Prabhupada tells the story that he was listening and rapt attention to his Guru Maharaj, and an elderly gentleman kept tapping him on the shoulder. He wanted to know what time it was or something. And Prabhupada shook him off a couple times, but Prabhupada's also a gentleman. This old man is asking him. So Prabhupada finally turned, and when Prabhupada turned to him to answer the man's question, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta stopped his lecture and said, "Oh, you have heard everything? You come here and speak." Prabhupada said he was mortified that his Guru Maharaj was watching to make sure he was listening, you know. And the old man who was tapping him on the shoulder was the donor of the Bag Bazaar. It was the big wealthy merchant. And Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura said, "Oh, you think you purchased me with marble? That no, you give me a big donation, but you don't have to listen? No, my duty is to train you." So here's that. And anyway, and there's that famous, they all got this fancy building, and they were arguing which room was sunlit, which one had the best ventilation. They were arguing over who was going to stay in what room. And when Prabhupada was meeting Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura, he would take retreats, Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura, to Radhakund sometimes. And that's that famous, he confided so many things in Srila Prabhupada. And he said there's fire in the mat, that they were arguing over this and that, and who was going to be the next acharya, and you know, whatever their calculations were. And Prabhupada said, he said, I wish I could strip the marble off this building, and I would take it and I would print books. If you ever get money, print books. So here's that, not to minimize it all, the Bag Bazaar temple, but here's that little history behind the Bag Bazaar, the first big temple, Gaudiya Math temple. This gives you a flavor. I think it says in here, but he was asked one time, why did he use sometimes he used, what is the word, rare, I'm not picking the right word exactly, but out of use or rare or words, complicated words, very, you know, Rabindra Sarup, every article that Rabindra Sarup would write, you'd usually have to look up a couple words. And then you'd read it and you say, well, that was just the right one. So they asked Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, why do you use these big, you know? And he said, here were two reasons. He said, I wanted to prove to the Britishers that we could present our philosophy in better English than they use. So he just wanted to show that, you know, if you think we're British, and, you know, so he, you know, better than whoever there was. And he said the other reason he said is, I need to use the exact word. I want to express myself exactly. So, and Prabhupada was in the same mood. Jayadvaita Maharaj tells the story that, you know, in the old days, you'd get off the plane and you'd come down the steps and then walk on the tarmac into the terminal. So Prabhupada, and in Pan American was the big airlines in those days. Prabhupada happened to be flying on Pan Am. And there would be they used to name, all the planes had a name on it. So Prabhupada came down the stairs, was getting ready to walk into the terminal and he saw the name. He said, Intrepid. What does that mean? And Jayadvaita Maharaj said, one who's, you know, brave and bold and unstoppable and an intrepid traveler around the world. And Prabhupada nodded his head. You could tell Prabhupada logged it away. Prabhupada was going to use that word at just the right time, you know. So here he is speaking to a bunch of British and Indian scholars, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura. Here he's speaking with the governor of Bengal. It was all of Bengal. I've written West Bengal, but the governor of Bengal. His name was Sir John Anderson. And this tube in front, they gave an address on All India Radio. So it was, you know, like the BBC's branch in India, All India Radio. And there he is. He told them later on they could title the lecture that he gave, Western civilization must be crushed. So when you look at this picture and he's sitting with the governor of Bengal with his his secretary there about to speak on All India Radio, Western civilization must be crushed. And he was criticized for bringing this meat eater out. He's not a teetotaler, as they say. I mean, he was like this gin and tonic. He was a genuine British, and brought him out to Mayapur. And the different this and that, criticized, why have you brought this malecha to the holy dham of Mayapur? Anyway, to get the governor out there, Mayapur was remote. I mean, we may think it's remote now, but it was really remote. There was no, it was only a, ox cart rutted road for pilgrims to get out there. So to get first off, that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura was so influential and so well respected that the governor of Bengal was right under the Viceroy of India. There was the viceroy, and then there was because the capital was in Calcutta. Bengal was the richest part of India at that time. So it was a big deal, to get the governor. So to get the governor out there and all of his entourage, what did they have to do?
Build a road.
They had to build a road. So what happened with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura was meditating that people don't come to the holy Dham in Mayapur and get the benefit because the road is so bad. How to get the road? This is preaching strategy. This is transcendental brain. He invited them out there knowing that to get him out there, they'd have to redo the road and improve the road. So when he was criticized, he told his disciple, the governor was scratch. I wanted the road. That's what he actually wanted, and he got it, So this is his last will and testament. A copy of it. You can see it here. And one of the key things in this, he requests his disciples to work cooperatively, to perform a governing body, and in a unified fashion under a governing body, manage the Gaudiya Math. It was 64 temples or more at that time, which was quite revolutionary. Everyone was, the tradition was you put a lead disciple, and that single acharya carries on the line, and he initiates. That's how you do it. But not Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura. He established the GBC. So if you wonder where the idea came from, there it is. We only have a few more. This is his Bhajan Kutir in Puri. This is where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura left this world. So there's that. Thanks, Prabhu. We're almost done. This is his samadhi, the samadhi of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura in Mayapur. This is where Prabhupada was sitting in the corner crying just before he left, day before he left to get on the Jaladuta. And the Pujari, who narrates the story, asked him, he hadn't seen Prabhupada since Prabhupada was a householder. He saw this obviously, sannyasi, saintly person, chanting japa quietly and crying. So he thought, what is the issue? So he came out, and when he got close, he said, Abhay Babu. He recognized Prabhupada from his householder days. He said, why are you crying? He said, my Guru Maharaj has given me an impossible mission. So he was praying and crying, how will it be? But he got on that boat. Also, Srila Bhakti, you'll see the second picture over here, there's a kund. All of the pastime places of Vrindavan, Radhakund, Shamakund, Govardhan Hill, they're all manifest at that Yog Pit, the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is a picture there of the Yog Pit, of the Samadhi, and that's Radhakund right in front. Another manifestation of Radhakund. And this is just for fun. This is they're all for spiritual enlightenment or fun. This is a picture of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura as a young man. And this is a picture of him in his elderly age. So you can just see such a personality. Thank you, Prabhu. So I don't know how much time we've got. We may be able to go a little bit, but I want to keep the devotees' attention. So this is from a class. I have two sets of quotes. These are notes I took from a class by Jananivas. Jananivas, there's the twin brothers. Jananivas, anyway, he appeared. Radha Madhava appeared, big, beautiful Radha Madhava, and along with them, their pujaris manifest at the same time. So he's a genuinely saintly person. So this is from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura's appearance, February 3rd, 2010. I'll just read these little, and hopefully you guys will stay with it. Mayapur was undeveloped jungle even after the discovery of the birth site by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura was the one who developed it. He was a most dedicated servant of the Dham throughout his life. Jagannath appeared to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in a dream. I didn't bring you here just to do legal work. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was the magistrate, so he was posted by the British. Actually, he wanted to be posted in Navadvip. He was so excellent. I forget who it was. not the governor of Bengal, but it was some high official, said that if India had 5 more men like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they could have pushed the British out of India. He was such an excellent administrator. So they kept moving him around. They kept moving him into different places, hot spots, places that weren't, because he was expert, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So, but he always wanted to get a posting in Navadvip. The district of Nadia, and they wouldn't give it to him because there were no problem. They didn't need him there. And finally, he told them, "I'm going to quit unless you put me in Navadvip." So they transferred him to Navadvip, and then here we have Jagannath appear. I didn't put you here just to do legal work. What was his assignment? I want you to spread my message. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, "It is so contaminated that will be possible only if you send someone from your personal staff." Lord Jagannath said, "You pray to Bimala, to Durga Mataji, and she will arrange for it." Thus came Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura, and he was named Bimala Prasad. Now, there's a little bit of a, how to say it, well, maybe I'll save it for later. There's a reason why Durga is especially merciful to the followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but that's a side story. But that's why he got the name Bimala Prasad. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur praying that I can't do it by myself, you got to send somebody. So Jagannath said, "You pray to..." She always gets Lord Jagannath's prasadam first. The story is Narada Muni got some prasadam and was in ecstasy. And he went to see his brother, and he was dancing at Prabhupada. There's a song. I forget who wrote the song. There's a song about this. Narada Muni's dancing in ecstasy. His brother Brahma says, "What happened to you?" He says, "Oh, I got the Lord's Mahaprasadam, and I'm feeling..." So Lord Brahma said, "What? You didn't save any for me? What is this?" So Narada noticed there was a little prasadam still, because you take prasad from his right hand, there was a little, under his fingernail, a little Mahaprasad was left. So he got it, and he gave it to his brother, Lord Brahma. And it's just that, it's not quantity, it's not quantity, it's quality. So that little bit of Mahaprasadam, Lord Brahma began dancing in ecstasy, and it goes down the chain with the Lord Shiva, and it goes down and down and down like this. Finally, it gets to Parvati, and there's nothing left. She said, "What? You didn't give me a..." And she went on strike, that she'd been left out. So the only way she was pacified is, no, we'll install a deity of you at Jagannath, and the Lord's prasadam will always go to you first. So she always gets the Lord's prasadam first, the deity of Durga Devi. So she's especially, Lord Jagannath's mercy is manifest through her. So that's just the way. So therefore, the mercy of Lord Jagannath manifests be that by praying to Durga that you send somebody, and therefore he was named Bimala Prasad. There's always history behind something. At the time of birth, the astrologer said, "I have never seen a personality with all 32 markings of auspiciousness. This child will be uniquely powerful individual." Of course, he was born with the biblical cord, because I'd like to say, "Oh, I'm born Brahmin." Krishna never says janma. Krishna says, what is it, guna karma, by qualities in work. But, now they claim, "Oh, I was born in a Brahmin family." Prabhupada said the only born Brahmin was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura, because he had the umbilical cord like that. When he was given the grain ceremony, the same day the garland fell off. You know the story that because Bhaktivinoda Thakur was the magistrate for the Jagannath, for the Puri, and also the overseeing the Jagannath temple. So many stories. Some other time I'll tell those stories. But he was able to bring the child had just been born, 6-month-old baby, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura, and his mother, Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura's mother, brought her up on the cart. As soon as the baby was up on the cart, a garland fell off Lord Jagannath, whoosh, right around the child, so it was immediately garland. So the same day was the child's grain festival, and it says, given the grain ceremony, the same day the garland fell off Jagannath, the child immediately grabbed the Bhagavatam, went to it like a shot, and grabbed it with both hands. He ate a bogus mango, that as a child. He was a small child. How old was he? Anyone know the age? He was small. 4 or 5, something, very small child, and ran through the house, went through the boga room, and there was a mango, and took a mango. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, trying to impress, said, you've done a the mango is for the deities, hasn't been offered. So as a small child, he vowed, I will never eat mango again. Not eating mango, what is it compared to? It's like, in America, you never have an orange or, I don't know what. Never eat a potato. It's like a big deal to not eat a mango. Later on, Prabhupada says that his disciples convinced him he would take a little mango chutney sometimes, but he never had the fruit mango, never would eat it. He never did his homework. Instead, he would read the songs of Srila Narottam Das Thakur, but he always got top marks. Prabhupada said that there was a stage there as a late teens, he absorbed himself in reading Mayavad commentary, the works of Sankaracharya and whatever it was, just absorbed himself in reading Mayavad philosophy. Prabhupada says that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was thinking, we may lose this boy, that he's going to. But Prabhupada said it was all part of his strategy to completely understand impersonal philosophy so he could dismantle it. He memorized the Gita at 7 years old. Not only could he recite, but he could explain the verses. 7 years old, memorized the entire Bhagavad Gita and could explain them. He used to sit with rapt attention whenever his father, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, would speak. He would argue sometimes with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati. They would joke and they would argue sometimes. When he would, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura would have this idea, and great devotees, we have different ideas. Well, no, we should do this, or let's do this first. So he would call his father, anyway, I don't want to say it. Anyway, he would say, you're just an attached householder. So they would argue back, but deep, deep affection. As an astronomer, he discovered a star. He was challenged by a disciple of the biggest astronomer in India. This was a debate that went on at the University of, I forget the name of it, not Scottish Churches College, one of the best universities in Calcutta under the British time, which was one of the best universities in India. And this astronomer, astrologer, big scholar, Pandit, had said something disparagingly about Bhaktivinoda Thakur and about Bhakti and Mahaprabhu. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura challenged him to a debate. And in those days, they weren't home watching the soaps or Bollywood movies or, whatever it was, online, whatever, and the Facebook. No. This was the entertainment. Sometimes for entertainment, Prabhupada, you listen to Prabhupada's lectures, as a householder, he would sometimes go to the high court in Allahabad or wherever he would, and listen to the court cases. Prabhupada uses a lot of those in his classes. He'll use examples from them. So a big debate, all the glitterati of Calcutta gathered. And, who's this Bhaktisiddhanta? He's a young man and what is this? And I'm a big... Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura, in the first 10 minutes, dismantled his arguments so severely that the man lost control of his bodily functions. You can understand, just lost it completely, Like they say, they had the wind punched out of you. That's how powerful Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura was. Oh, there it is. Why did he use such arcane and difficult words? Don't use them, people told him. He replied, no, I have to. Only these words describe exactly what I'm trying to say. He was so brilliant at grammar and logic that his teachers told him, you should make this your career. He said, no, I'm studying these things only so that I can properly spread the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. First time he saw Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji, he said, this is my guru. No one else equals him in renunciation. It says Madhvacharya approached his, Madhvacharya, in our line. Madhvacharya approached and was rejected by his guru 16 times. Something like that with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura and Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji. Finally, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura said, I am a strict moralist and you worship Krishna, who is a Debachi, so it's natural that you would reject me. But if you don't accept me as a disciple, I will give up my life. And he started to cry. Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji was so moved that he said to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, oh, I know this story. He said, you go bathe in the Ganga and come back, and I'll initiate you. Oh, first off, he said, Prabhupada tells it, first off, he said, I'll have to ask Mahaprabhu. So he would come back. I guess these are the ways he rejected him. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura said, so, did you ask Mahaprabhu? Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji said, oh, I forgot. I'll ask him next time. So in this way, and finally he said, I will kill myself. And he wasn't, he was not a person who ever said anything lightly or, just in jest or whatever. So Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji knew he meant it. So he said, you go bathe in the Ganga, I'll initiate you. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura said, I have met so many aristocratic people. He met Tagore, Subhash Chandra Bose, the British Raj, so many different things. But if you don't accept me as a disciple, oh, there it is. But all had some fault. But when I saw my Guru Maharaj, I knew that only a Vaishnava could be so exemplary without any fault. Everyone else saw my education, morality, austerity, intellect. Everyone was impressed by these things. And I also identified with them myself. But my Guru saw none of this. He paid them no heed. He only saw my real self. We don't have time, but when Prabhupada first met Ambarish, he told a joke about Ford Motor Company, about Ford cars, a disparaging joke. Ambarish loved it. And Ambarish said the same thing. Everybody always kisses up to me. Ambarish, the Ford, great-grandson of Alfred Ford, worth who knows how many millions of dollars at that time, It's a big deal, And Prabhupada he said, when he told me later on, he said, I never knew who my friends were. Because were they with me because I could fly them all to Aspen to, for the winter, or they all came down to, whatever it was, Palm Beach, and they stayed in our house. And I never knew who my friends were. But Prabhupada immediately, all that was aside, He told Prabhupada, we're off the track, but it's worth it. He said that he told Prabhupada, later on after he got to know Prabhupada and opened up his heart, he said, everyone's after me for my money. And Prabhupada said, Krishna's after your heart. And then Prabhupada joked with him later on, after some time said, if Krishna gets your heart, then he gets everything, So, there were lectures with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura, established Vaishnavas above. Oh, this is that famous story that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was invited to speak, but he was sick. He couldn't attend. So he sent his son, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura. And the theme was Brahmins or Vaishnavas. And he started off the lecture by praising, he was invited to speak one time because they knew that he'd like to speak from Bhagavatam and from Chaitanya Charitamrita. They didn't really want him to come. So they said, you can come, but we're not speaking from Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita. He said, I'll come. He said, we're also not speaking from the Upanishad, especially Sri Upanishad. That's all right, I'll come. But we're not speaking from Bhagavad Gita. That's all right, I'll come. And it went down, Prabhupada tells us, some obscure, all the Vedas are full of light, but a relatively unknown or obscure, rarely quoted one of the Upanishads. That's all, and we're strictly giving the impersonal view primarily. So I'll speak on it. He went there and spoke on pure devotional service, giving the Sanskrit etymology, the root of all the real meaning, and just blew the whole audience out. So in a similar way, he was invited to speak Brahmins, and he began by speaking all the glories of Brahmins. How they're the ripened fruit of the Varnashram system, so many things. All the Brahmins were very satisfied. And then he went in and glorifying, however, you can have all good, Krishna describes in the Gita, the 18 qualities of knowledge? You can have all those qualities, but if you're not a pure devotee of Krishna, they're all useless. And if you have those, and he gave so many examples of all the different, if one becomes a Vaishnava, whatever his origins, he gets all those qualities. Just like Haridas Thakur had all the qualities and was given the Shrad ceremony and all that stuff first, Because a Vaishnava has all the good qualities of the demigods. So that was his, and it was so profound that the audience of over 3,000 people rushed the stage. Because they all wanted to touch his feet. And the organizers didn't know what to do. It was especially in Bengal, you can imagine, it was just a riot. So what they did was they brought out big buckets, like basins of water. He'd put his feet in the water, and then they'd throw the water on the crowd. They'd bring another basin. He'd put his feet in. That's the only way they could pacify the crowd and get him out of there alive, So just imagine such a person. He was living in Orissa. There was another big scholar and Vaishnava, Ramchandra Pandit, I think that was the name. But he was Asampradaya. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was smashing him all the time. Practically all of Orissa had split into two camps, and it was about to blow up. Oh, there was an argument. Okay, whatever. Oh, so he was speaking so powerfully that it was going to cause, amongst the Vaishnavas and the different groups, it was about to blow up. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, you better go to Mayapur. You spend your time developing Mayapur. So he shifted to Mayapur's side because the thing was about to blow up. At that point, he vowed to chant 1 billion names. It took him 10 years. He had matted hair, strictly following Chaturmasya, eating cow vrata. Anyone know what cow vrata is? No. Welcome back. Cow vrata means that you bend over one time and you eat whatever once you come up, you can't go back again. So he used to take khichdi sometimes. They would just have him khichdi and he'd put sand in it and mix it. And then he'd bend over and eat it. So there's no question of sand. It was just nutrition only. So for 10 years. And what was it? It gives the number here. But we'll get back to some other time. In 1971, there was a flood. Oh, this is just for fun. In 1971, the Ganga flowed over, and it flooded all the way. You have to know Maya to appreciate, but it was coming all the way to flood Mayapur, our Mayapur temple. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Marg is built up. The road is built up. It's and the water stopped there. And so Achyutananda wrote to Prabhupada, we were saved by Bhaktisiddhanta Marg, the road, named after Bhaktisiddhanta. Prabhupada wrote back, we are always saved by Bhaktisiddhanta Marg, by following in the footsteps of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura. That we've read. Oh, if you go to Mayapur, and I meant to take a photo of it, what's the time? Maybe we'll have to do this in 2 days because we're just scratching the surface. Remember that his mission was one of his spontaneous desires and one of his requests from his father, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, was to develop the Dham, Mayapur Dham. So there was a big argument. Like if you go to Missouri and Kentucky, there's so many places, Davy Crockett slept here. Or if you go to Virginia, George Washington slept here. Why do they advertise it? Okay, yeah, exactly. They put up a little guest house, they have a little gift shop, whatever it is. They make their living off it. So there were so many places claiming to be Mayapur all over that. And the Ganga shifts. So, it had been lost for some time. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that's a whole other story. How it was revealed to him, the 7 hills for the 7 sages, Tulsi growing wild. The locals considered the place haunted, so no one did anything there. They didn't, barbecue cows or have sinful activities there. They left it alone. It's covered with Tulsi's 7 hills. Thought it was haunted by ghosts. Actually, it was the different devas on their way to here and there in the ether world. They would stop and do puja at the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Those were the subtle bits. So there's a whole thing going on, So how did we get off on that? Oh, that was it. So thank you. So he got the British government to establish a post office named, this is the Mayapur Post Office, which means that it was the official government recognition that this is the spot. And you've got that, we passed out that picture of the Yog Pit, the big temple there. Did I pass that out? Yeah? Okay. So when they built the foundation for that, they found the Kurma deity that had been worshipped by Jagannath Mishra, which confirmed it was the spot. Oh, he would walk in the evening sometimes. So he's walking down the road. His disciples are following him. There's a big, nice full moon. He swung his cane at the moon and said, "Which of you will go there?" They're all an illusion. They think they're in Chandraloka enjoying like the demigods. Who will go and save them? You know, they're all, you know. Again, walking on the road, he went past a place where the villagers all passed stool. Everyone covered their noses. You can imagine like this. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati looked at them and said, "Pity that you cannot smell the sweet fragrance of Sri Dham Mayapur." So he's experiencing a whole other... Prabhupada said at our Raman Reti temple, the Krishna Balaram temple, 3 o'clock every afternoon, Krishna and Balaram come through with the cows, and they stop and play there. Raman Reti means nice, pleasing sands. So every day, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Krishna and Balaram come through. I've never seen it, but who am I? I can't even find my way out of a phone booth with other Boy Scouts. So. All right. He left the Chaitanya Mata one evening after midnight. Brahmachari saw and followed him, wondering, where is Guru Maharaj going so late at night? Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura saw him following him and said, "All right, come on." They went down the road, and by a big banana tree, there was a big, effulgent kirtan party. All embraced and danced, and then they left mystically. Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura said, "Oh, that kirtan party, it was from Swargaloka." So, you know, what's from one of the heavenly planets? So, you know, we're like this little ant. We're having Bhagavatam class. Does the ant know that we're having Bhagavatam class? Does it, you know? Doesn't even know anything. So really, what is our position? And what do we know about, you know, as far as I can see? How far can you see? We'll go 5 more minutes. This is, when the British Raj came, when the British Raj was going to come, he had Brahmins from the Kalimat come and cook meat. Disciples, how can you do this? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura said, "Yes, I used to think like you 100 births ago. But I made a vow before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that I will do whatever it takes to spread your mission." Then his disciples questioned him, "How about our using that to rationalize so many things?" Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura said, "When you speak directly, face to face with Lord Chaitanya, and he confirms, then you can do it." So you have to understand the cult to get the British to do anything. To get the, you know, so. Original ISKCON Mayapur had 9 bighas of land. 2 Muslim farmers sold, where am I? That I already said. His presence was so magnanimous, so magnetic, that people just stopped and looked at him. He would come out for a walk, pat the children on the head, and give them sugar candy sweets that he kept in his pocket. That I already said. Just to give you a flavor of the man. Yog pit construction. The workers would stop for a beedi break. Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura said, "No, don't stop. I'll roll your beedis for you." We cannot imitate. We can't, you know, it's not like, you know. He gave the standard. If you speak directly with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says you can do it. Otherwise, you know, we follow in the footsteps of the Mahajans. Let's see. At the end of his 10-year vrata, that's when he was chanting over, was it 1 billion rounds? Names, 1 billion names. When he was chanting, it took him 10 years. At the end of that vrata at Yogapit, he saw the whole Panchatattva coming on Harinam, all the previous acharyas and the 6 Goswamis. They said to him, "Now give up this austerity and go and preach. We are behind you. We will supply whatever you need. We have unlimited men, money, understanding, knowledge, whatever you need. Don't worry. We will supply whatever you need. Just go and preach." Does that remind you of any event? I won't go through all the details, but Rupa Goswami appeared to Srila Prabhupada at the Radha Damodar temple. Said, you just write these books, we'll take care of everything else. Srila Gorkha Shordas Babaji ordered Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, never go to Calcutta, it is the capital of Kali. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura thought, I need to go where the people are. He took sannyas from a picture of Srila Gorkha Shordas Babaji. This is after Gorkha Shordas Babaji had passed away. He took from a picture of Srila Gorkha Shordas Babaji and went to Calcutta. But Prabhupada said because he was so powerful and pure, wherever he was became like Vrindavan. So he didn't go to Calcutta, he turned Calcutta into Vrindavan. We'll end on this one. So-called Vaishnava scholar came to see Srila Gorkha Shordas Babaji. I want to surrender to you because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura is too much into rules and regulations and you're on the level of spontaneous devotion. So he went to Gorkha Shordas Babaji and said, I'm not into all this strict, this and that, can't do this, can't do that. Prabhupada one time was describing from the Hari Bhakti. I was there in Detroit, in Los Angeles, 1970. Prabhupada was giving class where the temple room used to be, where the museum is now. And Prabhupada was describing Hari Bhakti Vilasa and all the rules and regulations. We're just trying to keep our dhotis on. I mean, we were like, follow regular principles, as just holding on for dear life. Prabhupada was describing a little bit more of the details. Prabhupada said, if I told you everything, you'd faint. So, he goes to Srila Gorkha Shordas Babaji. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura is too strict, but you're on spontaneous, bhav. I just want to go with you, and experience Madhurya Ras. Srila Gorkha Shordas Babaji said, if you criticize Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura, you will never be able to understand pure devotional service. Sure enough, the man fell down, became a coconut oil merchant, and used to seduce women, showing them how to massage with his coconut oil. So, there was another so-called big sadhu. Just try to understand that on one side he's got the aristocratic British who think that anything coming out of India is second grade and savage. And then he's got these all kinds of sadhus and mystics and yogis and frauds and bogus yogis. Here's another one. Another so-called big sadhu, famous for being austere, used to drink from a human skull. I'm even more announced than that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura. Srila Gorkha Shordas Babaji said, you are simply an imposter. And the yogi fell down. Fell down from his practices. Okay, we'll end there. I guess what we'll do, because I've got this, let me think about this. Maybe we'll finish next week? Because I haven't even touched that once by Bhakti Chaitanya. The simple point is that everybody follows somebody. Everybody's got role models. Why do they read People magazine or I don't know, whatever it is? They love to follow the lives of the rich and famous, and we all have in our head people that we respect. But what's it really based on? What's the real substance of the thing? But if we look here, we all follow somebody. Everybody follows somebody. So why not follow the best? So these are real people, our acharyas. It's history. It's not, if Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura believes everything in the Bhagavatam, who am I to argue with it? Who are we to argue? If somebody has another idea that I'm going to become self-realized or there's some happiness but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura, all of our acharyas, we just listen to what they say because they are the shining light of truth. Nothing compares. So it's good to get an idea of the history of these people. That's whose lotus feet we are under. Okay, Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura. And the Pushpanjali's at what, 11:50?
Yes.
11:50 Pushpanjali.
No fast, half day break.
Is there any special lunch? Who's cooking?